Yeah. So thanks to her. Let's get right into the shits. We got two people been asking. They want the pod to address this with these events that happened yesterday. Yesterday was the 6th, right? So January. Well, happy New Year first of all. Barely a weekend. So what are they calling them? Patriots, but we'll call them terrorists. Stormed the Capitol building yesterday. Free reign. Took some selfies with the cops. Shit was wild. Everybody knows about it. So, what are your thoughts? I'm not interviewing you guys. I don't know why I asked like that, but it feels like it. So let's dive into that. Like, how do y'all feel about that shit?
One of my guys said, I hate that word patriot. He goes, the only patriot I know is Bill Belichick. Like real talk, because like when you think about it, a situation like what happened yesterday, they throw that patriot word around, you know, just because they're trying to find any kind of justification that they can use. And it's unfortunate that shit like that can happen, and you still got people that want to like act like, hey, you know what, it's acceptable.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where I've had a couple back and forth with people on Instagram where it's comical to me because I'm just calling it for what it is. You know what I'm saying? I'm not pointing fingers. I'm not trying to get under anybody's skin by any means, but it's just one of them things where the way I viewed it, Trump is upset that he lost the election. He felt it was rigged. He's a sore loser.
Yeah.
And I feel he gave the green light for people to act out.
Mm-hmm.
People acted out. We saw what happened. And like Dino made a post where everybody just stayed silent.
Yeah.
As if nothing was happening.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's over by any means. But my whole perception on the whole thing was just the fact that if roles were reversed, the 5 mics are out there, that's 5 body bags.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's what everybody was upset about, was that we literally saw what happens when the majority of Black people are protesting or whatever. We see the resistance that we get, the pushback that we get, the bodies that pile up and all that. And the reason behind the protest, you know, someone lost their life. We protest. A man lost an election. And you said it was like it was planned. He knew the date. He was saying, I'll see you in DC. He was saying, you know, meet me there. They're not going to steal this from us. Like he built this up. Yeah, he built this up. And then it's happening. Like you said, we see videos of them letting people in. There's people saying that these were other people bust in. Well, you know, the question I'll ask you later, saying it wasn't really Trump supporters that were doing this. But then there's videos of people saying, no, like, I'm tired of people saying it was these people, it was us. Like, we didn't do this for Trump. We did this for America because it's our constitutional right to do this stuff. But actually, it's illegal for you to, go on those steps. It's illegal. Enter the building, it's illegal. Like, all this stuff is...
Confederate flag.
Yeah, this stuff is illegal. But these people were able to go in, take pictures, take stuff, get out, take pictures on the street, check into the hotels down the street
with no mask,
post on Instagram,
and be cool. Well, I mean, I know you sent something in the group saying that like there's been cases that like federal cases like brought to some of these people, 4 bodies, 4 people dead, but the best thing I think I saw was, we're not asking for you to shoot these people. We're asking y'all to not shoot us like you don't shoot those people. I think that's the best quote that I've seen. And I think that's what affected me the most, to see there's clear as day. We can't, how many times we've said it on these podcasts, when we were on Table That, saying all this stuff, like how many of our friends say it. There's a clear difference when us as Black people, when we do something, and then when white Americans do stuff, it's a clear difference with the pushback or retaliation, stuff like that. So yesterday it was kind of funny in the when I like looked at it, it was like yo, this is wild. Like this is
Yeah, it was definitely funny.
This is
Right.
It was some
crazy.
white shit, bro.
Yeah,
Like,
that shit was
just
crazy.
white. That's how I looked at
Yo,
it.
they was climbing the walls and shit.
Damn, Spider-Man. That shit
Dude
was
died.
crazy.
It looked,
I don't
like
know.
it looked like I seen a Braveheart, bro. The motherfucker had on his face painted, and
Yeah.
I'm just going, this is some white people shit.
Yeah.
Buffalo Bill over here.
That was a Native American.
This nigga wanted to be a buddy from that Braveheart movie.
I don't know what he was doing. I don't know what he was doing. I don't know what anyone was doing.
I like when he starts it off like with
Okay, so hold on. So before Io ever says anything, everybody just be staring at him because it's one of them things where you don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah. We've been waiting
No,
on
we
it.
know what's gonna happen. We gonna say some shit. Let's get it.
Well, first I'm going to tell you guys all the shit that you want to hear. I'm going to tell the fans all the shit that they want to hear. Then we'll see if we can get to some of the deeper
real
level
shit.
truth, right? So all the shit that everybody wants to hear. Here's the things that people want to hear when they say we want you to go in. They want me to say that Donald Trump is a fucking idiot. Yes, Donald Trump is a fucking idiot. He's a narcissist. He has riled up a bunch of these idiot followers who are just cult members of his religion, and he inspired them to do all this shit. Every single person who went to that protest is a rioter. They stormed the Capitol. They went inside. They broke shit. They were causing havoc. They were doing the same exact shit that other people were looking at the Black Lives Matter protesters and getting upset with them for. The Republicans as an entire side, they're all fucking idiots. Their entire leadership is garbage and trash and led up to this moment. It was one of the most disgraceful moments that I've seen. Everyone there was acting like a fucking idiot. Would I consider a terrorist? No, I consider people like running a plane into a building terrorists. These are just fucking idiots.
Domestic terrorists.
Doing stupid rights and stuff, right?
American terrorists, bro.
There are different sets of rules. There are different sets of rules based on what groups of people are protesting, where they're protesting, shit like that. So that's all the approved shit. But the one problem that I see people are going to get into is they're going to blame this 100% on MAGA. They're going to blame it 100% on Trump. They're going to blame it 100% on white people. And that is at best half the story. More like 1/4 of the story, more like 1/8 of the story. Like we're going to go through this whole cycle and we're going to look at Donald Trump. We're going to be glad that he's gone, but no one's going to like explore the reasons why Donald Trump became president in the first place. Everyone is going to like rightfully point out the actions of the Trump supporters, their silence when everything popped off, of their own people doing it, but they're going to ignore the entire other set of facts, the entire other set of narratives, the entire other set of events that happens. And then we're all going to do this thing where like, we look at our side. When our side does something, we don't say shit about it. When their side says something, they don't say shit about it. They like their side didn't say anything. The same way when people who are on our side, who I don't think it was 100% Black Lives Matter protesters, but Antifa, when Antifa was running around destroying people's businesses, we didn't say anything about it. When Antifa, people were talking about what they would be allowed to do. Antifa laid siege on the city of Portland for 2 months in a row.
Crazy.
Without the cops didn't do anything. There were violent protests all around the world based off of people who co-opted Black Lives Matter protests, and the cops didn't do anything. They're burning cities all across the country, and they continue to let it happen for days and days and days. So when people on the other side are looking at it that way, right? And then now we're not having any sympathy for each other, right? The conservatives have no sympathy for when Breonna Taylor gets murdered, for when George Floyd gets murdered, for when Trayvon Martin gets murdered, right? And now there are things going on the other side. Like some lady got shot and killed. But we don't give a fuck because they don't give a fuck about us, right? So we're not going to give a fuck about them. And this is going to go back and forth and back and forth. And the number one culprit in this is the mainstream media. People on the left and the right, black and white, you're both getting an entirely different set of facts all together. Like you're literally living in a parallel universe. Like I could show you I could show you like videos, different alternatives to things you've seen on the news, and I could share it to people who are like deeply invested in one side of the narrative, and they won't even believe me. They won't even believe this shit happened. Like when I talk about things like Antifa, people barely even know they exist.
Yeah,
when I talk about all the different narratives that like when real events happen, when Trump supporters do bad things, the media takes the honestly bad things that they did and paints an entirely charged narrative on top of it to make things even worse. And then even though bad things do happen to Black people and there is racism, we do unlawfully get killed, the media paints a narrative of racism that is literally not real. It doesn't exist. Half the things that they're saying is going on are not going on. They're over amplifying things, and all the puppeteers in the media, politicians, the elites that run the country, they do this to like divide us against each other. It's like when you were saying somebody was saying something to you along the lines of, oh, this is just propaganda, blah, 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 and you wrote it off. No, the people going to storm the Capitol, that wasn't propaganda. That was Trump's team doing that shit. But there's a massive, gigantic pile of propaganda laced on top of that. And nobody cares. Nobody actually cares about the truth. I could sit there and explain all the little intricacies of what the right-wing media does, of what the left-wing media does, of what Antifa does, of what the Black Lives Matter organization really is. Like, we don't even want to have that conversation.
No, I do.
And everything in between. But people just want to fire off their hot takes. And like half the time, anytime I want to get like way too deep into the discussion, you're either going to trigger people's emotions. There's going to be like confirmation bias where whatever you already believe to be true is going to continue to be true no matter what someone tells you. And I just think it's sad, dude. I just think it's sad. And we're unnecessarily divided, but this is going to be the way it's going to continue to be.
Yeah. But did you see what Trump, he released that video after they kept, saying, hey, you need to denounce this, what's going on. First, in the first line of the video, he said, the election that was stolen from, like he goes right back to that. And then he never calls them thugs or anything like that. Yeah. He says, we love you. You're special people. Just go home. Like he's calm and he's like saying, hey, basically, in other words, hey, I'm okay with you. I'm okay with y'all that you're my people. Like, but go home because they're forcing me to say this.
Yeah.
Then Twitter locked his account. they took it off, locked his account, and all that. I just don't know why. Why is it that there's Elijah McClain, a violin visual for him peacefully in the park, and then there's riot gear SWAT teams coming in and hitting them and forcing them off, but people are literally like giving two pieces to these cops in the Capitol.
Right.
The one guy, the black security guard or officer, whatever, is standing there by himself, and he's running up the stairs. Like, where was everybody else? Like, why did they tell the National Guard, no, hey, it's fine. We don't need your help. And then when the National Guard finally came in, midnight, stuff like that, then they're beating the shit out of people in the street.
Right.
I don't
post curfew though.
Yeah, I don't understand the difference in that. What narrative? What's the puppet masters playing in that? With showing that, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why are we getting treated like this? But then, blatantly, plain as day, they're getting treated a different way. And you said Antifa. Who is Antifa and why? What's the Antifa plan? Who controls Antifa? What is Antifa that? And what's their end goal?
And what Antifa really is a bunch of really spoiled, like weird, rebellious, like white people who go around fucking shit up everywhere they go. Right. They're basically like they're probably like the left wing equivalent to like your Proud Boys or your MAGA rioters or your people. So they all go to these little towns and they like fight each other. It's like Antifa, and then they fight with some MAGA people and then they get into all this shit, right? But the thing about it is both sides do it, and that's the problem that I try to point out. So Trump looks at his people and he's like, oh, guys, I love you. Go home. Like, don't worry. It's no big deal. And then when we do it, or when the Antifa people do it and mix in with Black Lives Matter protests, again, not the real people who are protesting. Like the Black Lives Matter protests, all the people came in and they like peacefully protested for like the first couple days.
Yeah.
And they were met with resistance, right? But then you have these people who continued like days after the protests who were burning shit down. Like that wasn't for George Floyd, right?
No. Yeah.
But the media, you see things in the media and they'll be like, oh, yeah, these are mostly peaceful protests. There was a thing on CNN with a guy standing in front of like a burning building, and he was literally looking in the camera and saying, yeah, there's a little bit of, kind of riffraff going on, but things like this is it's a fiery but mostly peaceful protest, right? So people on the right look at that hypocrisy, and then when they do it, they're like, okay, this is the shit that we've been trying to tell you. This is the same playbook that other people have been following. Why are you going to be mad when we do it, right? People are talking about Washington, or everyone storming the Capitol. You can look back to pictures of Washington D.C. in May where half the city was on fire.
Word, yeah, thanks.
They're acting like this MAGA thing is so unique and evil. But half of Washington, D.C. was on fire a couple months ago. New York was on fire. Los Angeles was on fire. Chicago was on fire. Portland was on fire. Half of the city was burning to the ground, and they pretended like it didn't happen. People on that side, there was a book written in defense of looting. I can show you screenshots of websites like Vox talking about how looting and rioting, is acceptable, and it was a call for justice, this, and that. And then when you flip it over, and the Trump supporters do it, all of them deserve to be in jail. So, right, I just call it a spade on spade of both sides. If you're rioting, you're fucking rioting. Either way, right? And both of these sides are like using each other, right? And that's the problem. Like the left and the right are willing to like let Antifa and to let Trump supporters and MAGA rioters, and
Trump's the same
Proud
dude
Boys.
that said when they start looting,
We start
we
shooting.
start shooting.
Right.
So like
That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, I agree. It's the same thing on both sides. Like, it was wrong when people started trying to burn shit down back in May, June,
Right.
and it was wrong when they stormed the Capitol yesterday. But the difference is how they were met. That's my thing. You know what I'm saying? Well, two differences. How they were met. Yes, it was wrong, but we were also getting tear gas and pepper sprayed and pellet bullets and niggas getting arrested. But then yesterday, none of that shit happens. You know what I'm saying? And then on the others, and then on the second point of that is, where the fuck was everybody else complaining about that? You know what I'm saying? Like I agree. We complain about the riots in May and June, but why aren't y'all complaining about these riots where these niggas stormed the Capitol, fam? Like, that's, to me, that's bigger shit than a Target on fucking Main Street. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's wild. And it was during the fucking whatever this shit is called. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Affirmation.
that's a real move. So that's where I was like, all right, this shit doesn't make any sense. I'm cool with not cool, but I understand you're gonna fucking go crazy, you're gonna riot, you're gonna rebel. It's stupid, but I get it on both sides. We shouldn't have done it in May and June to that point, and they shouldn't have done it yesterday. But I had this white lady commented on my post, bro. Some old white lady was like, I'm not a fan of police brutality, but if we wanted to use it, yesterday would have been the day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I was like, damn.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. Like, part of the reason why they weren't met with resistance is clear because they were white, right?
Yeah, they're the brothers.
But yeah, some things still happen. Like police shot and killed a woman at the rally. They got tear gas as well. They got tear gas, and a woman was shot and killed by the police. So police brutality did occur. And
but I think only one person was shot and killed, and the other three people were like
medical reasons. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
4 people dead is 4 people dead. I mean, but it's just one of them things where you just think about that being a mob. It's a mob of black people. There'd be no way it's only 4 people.
Yeah. And is it brutality if you're warned, and then you're in a place you're not supposed to be, and then you're inside that place, you're trying to climb through the window of in to get further in when they already have the guns drawn? Is that police brutality, or is police brutality kneeling on someone's neck until they die?
Well,
Right. Those are apples and oranges. Those are two entirely different situations. And the thing I'm trying to get across to people is like, I already hear the way that it sounds that's coming off like I'm making excuses for them or like I'm defending them. And that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to paint the picture of like the entire apparatus that leads to shit like this happening at all, right? And there's just, how do I put it? There's just like an alternative set. There's just an alternative set of facts that we both operate on that keep causing these problems, and nobody's willing to look at what's going on the other side, right?
But
So
that's what's got me tripping though, because I feel everything was orchestrated. Because you go back to the debate, Trump said, "Stand." What do you say? Stand back and stand by, Proud Boys, right? And then you just start thinking about the culmination of things that occurred leading up to what happened yesterday. So it just seems like our situations, Black Lives Matter is based off the fact that Black lives are being taken. You know what I'm saying? So that's the reason why that thing is all set up. Like,
right.
this Proud Boys,
And
this
this is-
Antifa. I mean, this is some bullshit that y'all got between each other from left and right.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And y'all hate each other so much that y'all orchestrate and doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's just going, for us Black people, realistically, we're like, hey man, we have no dog in this fight if you just don't kill us.
Yeah.
If you leave us the fuck alone, we wouldn't even be involved in any of this nonsense. So then when I'm seeing yesterday, just the way that these people acted, people were up in arms over a Target and a Jiffy Lube being burnt down in June, but motherfuckers was inside the Capitol.
Yeah.
I mean, what's that? Sedition? Is that what it is? Where the amount of laws that were just broken yesterday, like everybody that was involved, minimum of 20 years, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like Trump has so much pull still because he still is the president for the next 13 days. A lot of people are saying the reason why people didn't react the way they want him to react is because he probably said, hey, I still am the president. I'm letting this thing fly. National Guard didn't get called for 4 hours into this whole ordeal. You know what I'm saying? You start thinking about stuff like this, you're going, fam.
Yeah.
And being Black, really? If this motherfucker still got the green light on people, shit, nobody's safe right now.
Yeah. So my thing is with the what would I hear what you're saying when you say about we can't get upset when we're doing the rioting, protesting, or whatever, saying, hey, y'all haven't heard our voices, this is what we have to do. Then the other side, they're doing their version of it, and they're not saying anything. So we can't get upset on our side if they're not saying anything on that. I hear that point. What I'm saying is that you said apples and oranges. How is it that if innocent lives are lost caused protests, and you said Antifa comes in, that mob mentality, something breaks, then it turns into rioting. It leads to that. A man lost an election, and all this stuff is fraud, is stolen. We won in the landslide. We're not going to let this happen. They're not going to steal this. From day one of this election stuff, all the way until his Twitter is shut down right now. A couple of days ago, still saying the same thing, saying DC, well, we'll see you in DC January 6th, letting people know, hey, come here. It's going to be huge crowds.
Right.
They break into the Capitol, led into the Capitol, and they're doing that. How is that the same thing? I understand destroying property.
Oh, here's why it's the same thing. The George Floyd protest stopped being about George Floyd soon after they got done. What does George Floyd have to do with the weeks and months of shit that they kept doing? That the peaceful protesters were there for George Floyd for like the first week, but then shit kept popping off like all over the country, like way after that. And you could say, okay, that the original source of it was based on George Floyd being murdered, which it was, but like people weren't continuing to loot and riot and do all that stuff for George Floyd. George Floyd's family asked everyone to stop.
That's true. Yeah.
So that was not in the name. That was not in defense of George Floyd. And all these other things happened that weren't in the name of George Floyd. Was the Seattle chop zone where 2 black men got murdered.
Yeah.
What does that have to do with George Floyd? More black people dying. They're going around the streets. David Dorn, this is a black man who got murdered in front of the store in cold blood. What does that have to do with George Floyd? Dozens of people were killed in the process of those protests. It wasn't, and then there's like these mainstream media like approved narratives that I hear people popping up like, oh, what does it matter? Just a Target. It wasn't just a Target. It wasn't just an AutoZone. Like these are people's like personal property and businesses, right? At least, and then you look on the other side, they took at least they took up their fucking grievances with the people that they thought that they were supposed to take them up with. I was fine when the police stations were getting the smoke in Minneapolis. I was fine. Yeah, take the shit to the police station. Take that shit to the fucking cops. Fight the cops.
But you saying that, the one thing that kills me is everybody goes, why are you burning down these buildings? These buildings don't have any. They're not going to bring back George Floyd. What's the reason to do all that? But then storming the Capitol. What exactly are you gaining?
It's not going to change.
Yeah, they're equally retarded.
That's what I'm saying.
They're equal. Yeah. It's all I'm trying to say. They're equally stupid things to do.
But people are still finding ways to defend the actions of what happened.
That's what I'm saying, dude. Like that's the point. We understand like that shit is dumb. We know that.
Yeah.
But how can you defend that? Like, yeah, the George Floyd shit got crazy, but this ain't the first time, fam. Like. Just this year alone, so that shit can spark anything, or that can spark you at any moment, I should say.
Right.
And like the other day, we could have thought about that shit, and I'm like, damn, nigga, fuck this shit, and just started rioting because that's just how humans are, reactive.
Yep.
So, but I think for the case of the rioting and the protesting in the beginning was warranted. You know what I'm saying? And we tried to go to the Capitol building. We were outside though, and they were shooting us. You know what I'm saying? Met with resistance at the steps. We were on the street. Like that's a big difference. Like that's the biggest thing to me. Like, all right, fam. Like, yeah, this might be dumb, but we ain't got no other choice on either side. But why the fuck they weren't met with no resistance? Like they were like, yeah, just come on in, fam, and take everything. Like niggas was walking around with a podium, fam. What you gonna do with that? Like,